So, Beth, you're a meditation, mindfulness, and breathwork instructor. I thought we'd start by asking you whether or not most of us are just breathing the wrong way.
Probably yes, in short. So really what I work on in the breath is trying to activate what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. So usually in day-to-day life, we are constantly surrounded by daily stresses. That can be your phone, driving, literally anything at all. We are not necessarily programmed to be so stimulated. And when we are in that state, it means that we are breathing shallow, quickly, and actually it causes our nervous system to often put us in the fight, flight, freeze response, which is quite a stressful place to be in. So when you practice breath work and meditation, we are working on shifting that. So moving out of the stress response and into a much more relaxed place. So actually the rest and digest state. So that's really what I'm doing, is trying to get people more into that. And if you can do it just for a few minutes every day, it's going to be hugely beneficial because it helps to just reduce stress, anxiety, everything we don't want.
And are the two reliant on each other? When you're practicing this breath work, are you effectively meditating, and vice versa? Do you need to be able to use that breath work in order to meditate, or can they be mutually independent?
So they can be independent. There's different ways of doing meditation. So meditation, you can do mindfulness meditation where you're more focusing on your senses, on what you can hear, perhaps what you can smell. You can focus on the sensations in your body, or even what I like to do is visualization. And all of this can help get you away from constantly thinking thoughts and more into the present moment. That's what meditation is really trying to do. Whereas it's the breath work that is really stimulating that change in the nervous system. And they can kind of come together. Often when you're meditating, you are naturally coming into a more relaxed state. You're coming out of your constantly thinking brain and into that more mindful state. So they naturally come together. In most of my classes, I tend to do a bit of both. So we'll start with a bit of mindfulness, becoming aware of the body, and then become aware of the breath, and then try to change it by slowing it down, deepening the breath. So they work really nicely together, but they don't have to be done together. If you've only got 10 minutes, you could focus on just slowing your breath, or you could focus on a visualization, perhaps thinking that you're floating in a cloud or feeling sunlight and relaxing through your body. There's different things you can do, but they do work really nicely together.
I was actually just going to ask you that. You mentioned your classes. I understand they're often quite full at undo, but if someone can't get hold of you and can't fit into your classes, then a good starting point would be for them to simply just sit down and start to visualize and start to be more conscious of their breath.
Yeah, definitely. It's just slowing the breath can have a huge effect. When we're anxious and stressed, that's when we're breathing shallow. If you literally just focus on slowing the breath by going in through the nose and out through the nose and trying to breathe into your belly, just doing that for a few minutes can be amazing. And often if I'm busy, because I do teach in the morning and I'm a university student, I've got quite a few different hats that I put on. If I don't have the time to give myself a half an hour meditation, I will just sit and breathe for maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And you can really feel the change from doing that.
That's really interesting. I hear from a lot of people who are fearful of, for example, public speaking, that one of the best things they can do to prepare before they get out and stand up in front of a crowd is to really just focus on their breath. And that's exactly what you're saying, aren't you? Just to remove yourself from that stressful environment, you actually look inwards rather than outwards.
Yeah, you're actually changing your body's response. So when you're excited, nervous, stressed, that's when your responses in your body actually change, physically change. So you get the sweaty palms, your heartbeat increases, and your breath tends to be much quicker and much more shallow. So when you are in that state, where I always say if you're going for an interview or anything at all, yeah, public speaking, just slowing the breath will change that physiological response in the body, and it will just give you that more clarity. And the good thing about the breath is you can actually do it even while you're public speaking. If you're in a situation, say you're in an interview and you feel yourself, the response is coming, the anxiety building, you can actually take a moment and just slow the breath. And a lot of people won't even know you're doing it, or if you do, it can just look like you're thinking, but really just slowing it down can really help.
Fantastic. Beth, you mentioned that you study as well, and we'll get to that shortly, but if we can just go back a bit now, and if you can talk to us how you've come to be in this situation and why it is that you're a mindfulness, meditation and breathwork instructor.
Yeah, so I actually was a professional dancer. That's what I trained in. So I went to a stage school and then worked as a dancer for quite a few years. And I moved to China and lived there for 2 years dancing as my career. And I kind of found yoga over there. I had a teacher in China and I'd go to his classes often. And he did a lot of breath work and meditation. And also I found self-development there. I had a lot of spare time, a lot of alone time. So I spent a lot of my time reading self-development books, listening to podcasts, and really just dived into that space. And then I moved to London and was working as a dancer there. And it was a stressful job. It was up and down. It was never a constant. I maybe would have 2 weeks working on one job and the next week nothing, or I might do one video shoot and then the next week like a promo job, or it was all over the place, quite stressful. And I really found practicing meditation then and the self-development practices, so reading the books and kind of trying to make myself do daily walks and give myself morning routines, that really helped me. So that's kind of always been there while I was dancing. It was like a really nice grounding for me, because dance is obviously it's a performing job. It takes a lot of energy, and surprisingly, I'm actually quite an introvert. So I really need the time to be able to ground myself, have some alone time, and I found these practices to really help. But when I was on the jobs, coming to the end of my career, I found that actually, rather than looking forward to the performing side of things, what I really enjoyed was connecting with people. And I had like an ability to be able to talk to people and they would confide in me and they would feel great and I would feel great. And that just kind of kept happening. So I reflected, probably because I did so much self-development work, but I had the awareness to realize, do you know what? I think I'm done with the dancing now. So decided to retrain as a psychotherapist. So that's what I'm doing now, training at university to be a counsellor psychotherapist. And I was working just an admin job. I quite liked it, but I found that it wasn't really working very well with the studies. They weren't connected in any way. It just kind of gave me an income. And I really wanted to have a job that married up really nicely and complemented my studies. So I decided to train in meditation, mindfulness, and breath work. And then I guess luckily, the studio in my hometown popped up and they gave me the opportunity to teach there. And then it's kind of all gone together. And now I'm in my studies, I'm even learning about how meditation can help therapeutically. So the two really complement each other. So once I do qualify as a therapist, I'm hoping that's something I can do as a combined therapy, helping people meditate and therapy. Yeah.
We love those serendipitous stories. That's just another classic meant to be, isn't it? You're on the right path when everything falls into place like that.
Yeah, I think so. The doors opened at the right time. So yeah.
Yeah. Beth, you sort of had quite an organic path to this point. Have you noticed there's an increase of interest in general amongst people to focus? I mean, mindfulness has been a big buzzword for a while. Breathwork seems to be the new like up and coming hot interest for health. Do you find that more and more people are turning to these natural remedies and or preventative measures in the first place?
Yeah, I think actually since COVID, there seems to have been quite a huge increase in people's interest. And actually, there's a lot more medical side, scientific proof to show that it's helping. before it was I guess seen as maybe holistic and or even woo-woo, or a bit, as you say, meditation to someone and they think, oh no, whereas now doctors are actually recommending people to practice breath work and meditation, and I think that's seen a huge spike in people that are interested. I know I've got a lot of people messaging me to do it. I now, because of the demand outside of my local community, I offer one-to-one classes, and I do that over Zoom. Soon going to be doing a weekly class for people as well, because I do think it's definitely seen a massive increase. Even cognitive behavioral therapists are now telling people that outside of the work they're doing in therapy, that they should be practicing meditation and breath work.
Well, that's fantastic. Have you got any, without going into detail, but do you have any anecdotal stories of people you've helped and how the breathwork may have benefited them directly in tangible or non-tangible ways?
Yeah, well, I find that most people who come to my sessions are usually dealing with something. Either they've had a trauma or they're experiencing anxiety. And what I find is a lot of people at the end of the class are quite emotional. So a lot of the time we are not everyone, but if you've dealt with trauma, you can kind of disassociate the trauma from yourself. So it's almost you're intellectually aware of what's going on, but you shut off your emotions. And that's because we're often in our heads, we're thinking a lot, or we're busying ourselves with distractions. Social media is so good for that, or just anything around. You can be a workaholic doing so many other things. But when you meditate, you're really stepping out of that and having to come back to yourself. So the people that are coming to me who are anxious, often the first session have a huge emotional release and often do get emotional, do cry. And then when I've seen them the following week, they've said, yeah, they felt they needed that. They just didn't know it was there. They weren't expecting it at all. It's bubbling up and it's really helped. So there's a couple of people that's happened with. They've come back and they've said that their anxiety symptoms have lessened, their confidence has improved, and also just that sense of self. They know they've got that time to themselves and they look forward to it. And yeah, they've said that it's really helping. I mean, it's helped me loads, especially when I was extremely stressed when I was a dancer. It helped me so much just being able to come back to meditate. And whenever there's a stressful situation, maybe a family situation to come up, I've been able to turn to meditation, and it's helped me so much. My responses to things, I find I respond now rather than react. And I do think that's from having that clarity in my mind.
And that's a really interesting statement to make, responding rather than reacting. I think we could all use a lot more of that in most areas of our life, really, couldn't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think often we are so busy and overthinking everything so quick, so reactions are natural. But when you give yourself the time to pause, to meditate or breathe and just slow everything down, things just become clearer and less panicked. And that's where the response rather than reaction comes from.
It sounds like some of these reactions are so powerful and must be so confronting for a lot of people in many ways, that what you're doing is quite a brilliant combination, the psychotherapy plus the breath work and the meditation. They just go so perfectly hand in hand.
Yeah, I feel like they're really complementary tools. You have the psychotherapy to really understand yourself on a deeper level, gain that self-awareness, maybe understand the defense mechanisms or coping mechanisms that you're using in daily life that you weren't even aware of. And then you have the meditation and breath work as a tool to help you manage that when you feel them coming up. So the psychotherapy really gives you the awareness that, oh, that's what I do, learning about yourself. And then the meditation and breathwork works as a tool to help manage that.
Beth, this month being the month of love, Valentine's Day, we wanted to turn it around a bit on its head and look at more self-love and self-care. And going through your Instagram feed, there were several memes that popped out in my mind as so perfect for this particular topic. I mean, embracing the beauty of becoming, taking care of yourself is productive, act with self-compassion, water your own grass rather than focusing on someone else's being greener. They just really stood out to me. How important do you believe self-care is for well-being?
I think it's key. Self-care can come down to even your nutrition, your exercise, everything. It really comes down to giving yourself that self-care. It's like if you think to an aeroplane, they tell you that you should fix your own air mask before you fix somebody else's. And I think that's the thing with self-care. Have you're expected to maybe look after children, you've got a partner, parents, friends, you're never going to be able to help them fully if you don't give yourself some time. I'm a huge advocate for me time, whether that is just 10 minutes in the morning for meditation, or you're able to give yourself that bit longer. I think it's very personal what you enjoy. So maybe it's going to a Pilates class, maybe it's getting nails done, maybe it's turning your phone off and watching a comedy, but having some time just for yourself without the responsibilities. And that's quite difficult now, especially with technology. I'm all for technology. I think there's a definite place for it, but it can be detrimental because you're constantly reachable. And I think that can play a huge part on our stress. So I'm all for self-care, particularly giving yourself time to do what you love, what you enjoy, nourishing yourself with what you want to eat, doing things for your body, and then definitely doing things for your mind, reading books that you enjoy, listening to podcasts that inspire you, but just finding time for yourself. I think it's brilliant.
Fantastic. A big part of everything that we do here at Edible Health is in an effort to help empower people on their natural health journey. And I can't help but notice your Instagram handle is Empowered by Beth. Can you talk to me a bit about the rationale behind that particular name, Empowered by Beth?
Yeah, well, I just love the word empowered. To me just stimulates so many positive emotions. I think to be empowered is to be yourself, and I guess self-care is rooted in that, being empowered to show up as your best self and do things for yourself so you can help the people around you. I've done Empowered by Beth because I coach the meditation, I instruct these classes, but in the classes I usually focus on a theme, whether that's gratitude, and I always bring it back to the self. So grateful for yourself. If we're doing kindness, how can you be kind to yourself? Or confidence, how can you believe in yourself? It all comes down to the self. And I think my work is very much wanting to help people to become a person that they like, or at least to appreciate themselves. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. So that's what my work is trying to do, is help people see that you're doing amazing.
That's wonderful. Beth, the conversation's not so much focused on this, but we did come in contact with you partly because I think you used to take our bovine collagen, and now are you trying marine? Is that right?
So I actually did take your bovine and your marine in the past, and now I'm back on your bovine one, and I have it in my coffee every day. Right here.
Is there any reason that any particular reason you're taking collagen?
So I know that there's health benefits, but for me, it's probably the skin and hair side of things. I know, well, I'm very much about self-care is about, your mental side, but I do think it's important to do things for yourself that make you feel good. And I feel good when my hair is healthy, when my nails are healthy, when my skin is healthy, and I just feel better and more confident. So that's really why I'm taking it. And I have actually noticed, now you say it, because I've only been taking it in the past week or so again. I'd stopped for a little bit because I'd run out, and now I'm taking it again. And I do actually think I feel a bit more fuller in the cheeks. So I don't know if that's related, but I imagine it is.
Well, you do have gorgeous skin and hair, so we'll take full credit for that.
Thank you.